can glide into this game as well. And hopefully the match at hand that we've got, obviously all of our expectations are that, Washington's going to be having a great time in this series. But what I will say is, we've been very wrong in the past and very wrong so far in this Overwatch League season. So you never know. Maybe Boston might pull something out here and prove all of us wrong. Wouldn't be the first time.
It certainly wouldn't. And I think also the other thing for Boston is if they can remain competitive in any way, that's going to be a great sign moving forwards, right? Boston are a team where people either thought that they were going to be towards, lower middle of the pack, or some people were very high on them, and they really believed in their coach, Laurie, and the new talent that they brought in as well. Obviously, the loss of Soon early on in the season does seem to have impacted them. But overall, it's a team that has a lot of decent prospects as well, and certainly an interesting look for Boston in the sense that Hookers almost seem to try and buy the dip here in the Overwatch League and seeing if he can make a bit of a cool team for the 2021 season. So if they can remain competitive in any sense, this is still pretty good.
Absolutely, yeah. And let's take a look at the Washington Justice starting lineup as well. Who are they going to be rolling out with today in this series? Well, the response should not surprise you too much here as we start to see on the DPS side of things. Of course, we have Decay, and he's going to be alongside Jerry. The tank line, I think, Mag and Fury as well is one up there that, right now competing for the best in the league. It's still early days yet to be saying that, but as it stands, I think that they are really showcasing that they've got what it takes to compete with the very, very best. And a stable tank line, Josh, really is one of the core components of being a top team in the Overwatch League.
It makes or breaks rosters. Absolutely. The current prevalent theory within Overwatch League as well is that you need an excellent coach and an excellent main tank. And you can kind of make the rest of it try and work, but those are absolutely crucial if you want success. Let's take a look over at the other side as well, because the coach is one of the most interesting parts of the Boston Uprising, but also their main tank is pretty interesting too. It's Stan One, who comes from the Shanghai Dragons team that did so well last year. Yep. A lot of people are pretty high on him and what he could bring to this roster as well in terms of boosting them up, giving them an opportunity to play a bit more of a structured style. And the star player, probably going to be Valentine, who so far we haven't seen too much out of, but I'm hoping this is his opportunity to show himself against the best.
Absolutely, yeah. And we've seen some interesting stuff come out from Boston, actually, in terms of compositions that they like to run. And, of course, we see Punk as well playing in this lineup. Didn't really get, I think, a great showcase of his abilities in the previous year. It's going to be looking forward to this upcoming season, or this season that we're in right now. It's not necessarily the upcoming season if we're in it, to really showcase what he's made of. And the first map will be Busan. We've already seen a variety of different compositions being ran on Busan, not just the rush composition, but a lot of the wrecking ball. It's compositions just kind of complemented in a certain sense. And it really does seem to play to any of your strengths. If you like to play rush, you might be able to make it work. If you like to play a lot of wrecking ball comps, poking around with the hit scan, you can make that work as well.
Delving a little bit more into those compositional and roster choices for the Washington Justice, when we saw them play against the Dallas Fuel, they were fielding Assassin and Jerry to start with. So Decay ended up sitting out of their starting lineup when they played, I believe that was Ilios on Control, because they wanted to play some Sombra Reaper, some more kind of front-to-back dive compositions with Mag on the Winston. And Busan is an opportunity to just play double hit scan. We've seen it in the previous game that we just watched as well. These ball comps are dominant here, and especially when you have a DPS line of Decay, who is just elite, and then Jerry, who's a great up-and-coming talent. This seems like it would be a fantastic opportunity to let that duo shine. So it doesn't surprise me particularly that Assassin is not in, I guess.
Absolutely, yeah. And I remember as well talking to a lot of the community, or especially Discord and whatnot, and hearing about how a lot of people were quite surprised that Decay wasn't seeing playtime initially, but that's just the dangerous thing about the Washington Justice, is that Assassin is also just a bit of a nutter. The man might just turn up at any point and dominate, but yeah, especially when you've got Decay and Jerry, that's who you're playing against. It's a difficult ask, and they're going to see how they hold up against it. The Boston Uprising are looking to play a bit of a double bubble composition. Plays a little bit differently now to what the Washington Justice are trying to output. You can see the engagement coming in from Stand One as he tries to set up a bit of a play, create a bit of space for them, and they're capitalizing immediately.
this is actually really well played by Washington. When you see a team that's running the Zen Mercy backline, you need to hard engage onto that backline and really punish the Zenyatta for not having a Brig with them. And this is a good follow-up as well. They immediately took out Fury. Punk's got himself into a great position with a lot of charge by applying bubbles over to stand one. As long as Punk can stay alive here and retain his charge, they're looking good. What a good beginning for the Boston Uprising.
Oh yeah, 100 charge on Punk as well. Very, very scary. Honestly, mirroring, in a kind of sense, the previous series that we watched, because I believe it opened up on this particular section of Busan as well.
It did.
We saw the not necessarily these same compositions, but we saw the Zaryas getting a lot of value, particularly Elevoed Zarya. And now we're kind of seeing the same here as Punk just trying to build it up. And you can see pressure being applied onto the point itself as I'm 37 is being pushed off here. That's by Decay. He's putting in a bunch of damage. Stand one now going to be receiving this nano boost. Needs to try and take down Decay, but Decay falling back to the rest of his team. A bit of a disjointed exercise. Pulse bomb laid down as well. It's not going to mean too great things. However, the Boston Uprising are able to just kind of turn it around and salvage it.
Yeah, they did actually manage to make that work. The timing wasn't great from Sanwon and Myeonbong in terms of when they executed the dive, and Washington did a decent job at kiting, but Stanwon got his leap online at the final moment and they took down Bebe. By the way, Closer has also moved over to Brigitte here, so there is no damage boost for Jerry, no healing, no resurrect online for their backline, apart from that Brig, and Closer here, there we go, he dies to I'm37. Boston Uprising are in clear control at this point.
Yeah, Decay getting picked off early as well in that team fight by M37. A character we haven't really spoke about too much here. In particular as well, the Boston Uprising. You know, we've been talking about how dangerous this Washington Justice DPS line is. But Decay sometimes, he has a bit of a knack for biting off a little bit too much more than he can chew. You see him here, he's just trying to pressure the extremities now of the Boston Uprising. Now they're going to be playing aggressively into it. The grab is going to be committed. Counter grab comes up, but actually gets body blocked. I don't think he was expecting Stanwon to jump into it. And there's no follow-up here for the Washington Justice. 98%. There is somebody on the point to try and flip this one over, but they've lost all the players necessary to compete.
Yeah, Washington are just simply going to get mopped up here. There's nothing that Decay can do. They're getting pressured down. He would have to contest Faith on the point as well. There's rally armor on everybody.
Oh my god.
And simply no impact from the Washington Justice. Bebe could never get into position. Stanwon was always on them. And then Decay got shut down pretty much. He wasn't finding good opportunities to pressure the backline. Boston Uprising, I want to give them so much credit for taking that first round away. They had a game plan, they came in, they executed it exceptionally well. And they've got a different game plan here too. We're going to see a rush composition with the Reinhardt and the Sigma. How does Washington play around this? They're going for their own double bubble. Very different styles from both of these teams as they alternate through the various viable compositions that the meta currently allows.
So cool to see almost the rock paper scissors style. It's not really rock paper scissors though, because you can make these styles work against one another. It just depends on how comfortable you are playing them. Yeah. Boston Uprising going to be running this rush comp. Valentine is going to be playing the Doomfist here, trying to punish, I guess, the Washington Justice for not running.
Oh, great engagement.
Cree, but stunned, bashed up, and actually a huge bio-nade. The Washington Justice were more than ready for that kind of engagement. They've been doing their prep work here.
It really felt so perfectly timed. All of that CC coming out from the Doomfist stops the Washington Justice from kiting, and it allows Stand 1 to get damage, to get speed boosted into them. Closer's fallen as well, though. They aren't out of the water yet.
Yeah, and Boston, it was looking okay. Mag needs to be healed up here. He's going to be backing off. You need a lot of patience and discipline to be playing this kind of double bubble composition. The nano boost applied onto Mag. He's going to be leading it in. Getting a ton of work done as Stand 1 just gets obliterated. And eventually it will mean that the point is flipped back over here.
Fantastic timing there from Mag and Decay. That's the synergy you're looking for. Remember that Decay hasn't played with these guys before, and Mag is a rookie. So seeing that kind of type of synergy from two players who are anticipated to be some of our best in the Overwatch League, that's the kind of synergy you need to get the maximum potential out of these players. Valentine now has swapped over to the May. There's the speed boost used from Faith as well. The Justice, they're backing, but Closer is stuck.
Okay, a lot of damage coming out. Kill's going to be traded. Mag just trying to make this Primal Rage to catch out a couple of these players. Look at the mechanics. Caught up into the corner here. Punk could not move anywhere. That is beautiful work. Washington holding strong.
That's pretty gorgeous. Jerry's going to be coming up to his first EMP here pretty shortly as well. He's at 80% right now. Pretty much neck and neck with Fury as well. I don't think they'll use the grab and the EMP to completely wipe Boston. Better off used separately. But maybe grab Pulse Bomb if they can take out some of the cooldowns. The name of the game, though, for Justice is to continue kiting until Boston have used those important cooldowns. Hello? How does that happen? Surely some random...
Wow. That is not ideal for them. And Mag as well got chunked down as he tried to counter-engage as they were coming around the corner. Not an ideal situation for the Washington Justice. They're going to get the 70% on the board. Yeah, it really did. But the Boston Uprising now, playing this rush comp, Josh, they can be holding at these choke points. And this is a really optimal position to be holding, especially when you get some ultimates online.
It is, but the Justice also have a lot of ults to be able to break those forward holds. They're going to be predictable positions for Fury to land big grabs, and Mag can use his Nano Boost to try and push past them, and they have the EMP. So the Justice, even though they're stuck in choke points here, have a lot of tools to be able to break those open.
Jerry just trying to get the hack off here. Decay also. Oh, moving in, gets caught by the Earth Shatter. There's going to be a lot of peel attempts onto him, but look at this, the Boston Uprising capitalize. Mag and Jerry go down as that entire fight was taking place. Postwoman to the back, that was almost sickening. The sound barrier by Faith, though, is going to be keeping them all alive, so it's all for Nord at the end of the day. Closer falls as well.
That sound barrier, though. The sound barrier being down means no counteraction to Jerry's EMP. I mean, having said that, I wouldn't have normally said an Earth Shatter is a good counter to an EMP. But catching Jerry when he was just hanging around there trying to get a manual hack onto Stan 1, that was a gorgeous decision from Stan 1. Let's see how Jerry uses this, though. EMP so far away from everybody else. And they're just trying to bully the ride.
Well, Mag with the Nano Boost applied, yeah, just trying to take out Stand 1. Eventually they do it. Primal Rage being used as well.
Bionade.
Going to be fading pretty soon. Bionade connects onto so many targets. The Boston Uprising chunked so low. And Washington Justice just pushing them back into the choke points once more. The damage is done. 92% though, and counting for the Boston Uprising before it eventually gets flipped back over to the Washington Justice. But Washington are now looking at that pulse bomb, looking at that grab. They have great opportunities to try and hold the Boston Uprising right here, right now. Oh yeah, they're hiding for it.
Oh, looking for the sneaky play. Fury getting a bit weak as well. They're all getting into close range where Valentine can do work, but he's not really able to land that much damage. It does push people away though.
Pulse? Oh my god, that just chunked them all down. And there was no cooldown to try and save him. The damage is done. Jerry just cleaning them up as well from the back line. The SMG spraying them all. Only a couple of players left standing. The overtime burns, but nobody is able to touch. And Washington Justice now going to be evening up 1-1 so far in map number 1. So many parallels to the series we just watched.
Yeah, except in the series that we just watched, the Atlanta Reign very comfortably took round 2. That's not the same case here. The Washington Justice were made to fight for every percentage point that they just got there on Mecha Base. The Boston Uprising were able to force mistakes out of Washington. They caught Jerry out of place multiple times. Sometimes because of Jerry's mistakes and sometimes because of like big plays like that shatter from Stand 1. But they are forcing out errors from Washington. You have to be a pretty decent team to do that. So this is not wrapped up in a ribbon just yet. History may not repeat itself. Everything is open here, but when Decay and Jerry have a lot of space to be able to hit their shots on a long-range hit scan and a tracer, you've got to be favoring Washington again. Can Boston bring this one to the finishing line?
This is probably the best Boston Uprising that we've seen. I mean, the fans have been waiting for this kind of Boston as well. Since probably 2018 Stage 3, I think, was when Boston last looked kind of on this kind of level. And taking an early map away from the Washington Justice here would be a wonderful way to set the tone of what to expect from this squad. Still, Valentine is going to get caught out of position there.
He missed his blink. He ended up blinking into a wall, and Decay just batters him down from behind.
Off the back of that pick, it means that no one's really going to be keeping too many players in check. Jerry in particular, I mean, he has a lot of free reign. When there's no more Tracer to try and, like, okay, threaten the opportunity that he might be getting punished, he's allowed to take these wide off angles. As you can see him, look at him playing this long sight line all the way down here, putting in the shots.
He has infrasight already.
Yeah, it's just absurd.
Yeah, he did so much damage in that opening engagement, plus the kill towards the end. This is going to slow down Boston. I'm 37 will not want to contest him when Jerry has this kind of angle. It's just going to keep him back.
Especially with the infra side up. I mean, look at the amount of work he just put into stand 1. Stand 1's almost been taken out, by the way. The Discord Orb was applied. Decay ends up falling, though, to Dynamite with the Discord Orb.
Himself.
Yep, takes him out. There's something that I mentioned earlier as well, is he, like, sometimes Decay, he's the kind of player that really wants to take a lot of the responsibility of the team on his shoulders. But you got to play together sometimes. Bebe takes out stand 1 though, so it's not the end of the world for them. Washington's still going to continue to fight this one, and this is where the fight starts to get a little bit scrappy. Coming out on top for the time being though, the Discord Orbs are being applied. No one's taking care of Bebe. Great accretion. She's going to be slotting it in, and the Washington Justice holding on.
Fury doing so much work in that fight as well. But Stan 1 was forced to engage in that position with such weak health. And once Fury gets the rock onto him and there's a Discord Orb applied, Stan 1 just got absolutely melted. And on the other side of that, they didn't have the Punk in position to punish Mag, and so the ball diff just occurred in that team fight. The Washington Justice were able to create so much more room with Mag there. And there's so much pressure on this guy, Valentine. He wasn't really supposed to be the Tracer player for the Boston Uprising, but necessity calls.
Yeah, so much pressure as well when you're going up against Decay, the Rally, the Gravitic Flux now being used by the Washington Justice. Transcendence are counteracted here. Boston want to be using this advantage to try and potentially get a pick, but it's going to be the later Transcendence coming out again. And nobody touches the point. They had the players, Josh, to give them the benefit of the doubt here. I mean, the team fight was turning, but when it gets chaotic like that, it just slips away. And the Washington Justice going to be taking map 1 here early on in this series, but I think Boston are going to be kicking themselves there.
Absolutely. I mean, in those final moments, we talked about Decay against Valentine. Decay gets the 1v1 kill again onto Valentine, and then sticks stand 1 with a pulse bomb, and so it distracts stand 1 from actually touching the objective and making sure that he secures overtime there. But I do think that Boston are going to be kicking themselves a little bit. They performed so well in that first round, and it just slipped away from them the longer that map went on.
Absolutely. Well, the series isn't over yet. We'll see on the other side of the break. Can the Boston Uprising come back from this one? Can they showcase that they've got what it takes to stand up against some of the best teams in North America? We'll find out. Don't go anywhere, ladies and gentlemen. More Overwatch League coming up.
The Overwatch League is brought to you by T-Mobile, America's largest and fastest 5G network. Set your sights on the competition with T-Mobile. And by Xfinity, the preferred internet provider of the Overwatch League. The Overwatch League is brought to you by Coca-Cola, the official refreshment of the Overwatch League, and by IBM, the official cloud and AI partner of the Overwatch League.
To celebrate the upcoming regional knockouts and first tournament of the season, the Overwatch League is excited to release a skin that captures the fighting spirit of competition, MMA. Get it while it's on sale now through May the 11th for 200 tokens. So you can, there you go. There's the first of the tournament skins that are going to be released as well. We should have more upcoming as well. It's quite exciting stuff. Yeah, as you can see with our power rankings of IBM, Watson, Assassin and Decay reaching into the top 10. And no surprises there whatsoever, Josh.
No surprises whatsoever. Assassin and Decay being able to make it in there. I expect them to even get higher throughout the season. This is a DPS line that a lot of people are very scared of too. There's so many good DPS players in this season. Fantastic kind of company to be in if you're a rookie player like Assassin. And, you know, there's a lot of other good names there up towards the top. As IBM Watson gets more and more data over the course of the season, we'll see how those shift and how they change. But at the beginning here, considering that they've only played 1 week and they're 2-0, that's, you know, already very impressive stuff from the Washington Justice. They didn't have pushover games either. They played against the Dallas Fuel.
Yeah, that's a great point. I think this is, yeah, I mean, we've been pretty blessed, I think, early on in the season with the quality of some of these games. And now, as we take a look at the maps we're heading into, it is indeed Volskaya. A Volskaya map where you see, generally speaking, I think a lot of double bubble is what teams are playing as well. Alongside, you can make it work with other compositions. As we take a look as well at the map leaderboard for Volskaya Industries presented by Xfinity, as you can see, no real connection for both of these teams. And honestly, I don't think they're going to be making this leaderboard either. The way that both these teams have been playing, you know, on paper you might have expected maybe a good time to be set against Boston, but they have been fighting tooth and nail against the Washington Justice.
They certainly have. It's been close. Even the only round on Busan that wasn't close was an outlier, it feels. Boston have actually been able to go toe-to-toe with Washington, as long as they have a game plan and a good idea of what they want to do to shut that down. I think that's what's so crucial here as we come into Volskaya. What is Boston's plan, and what are they doing against Justice? I also think that Boston have been benefiting so far from not really playing mirror compositions. If you think about how it went down in the first 2 rounds, Boston looked better because they had a good understanding of how their comp worked to break the opponent's comp. But when Washington mirror them, they end up just getting kind of outclassed pound for pound. You're going up against people who are playing the same comp, but are overall, most of the time, going to be better players. That's a hard thing to make work. And here again, we could see mirror compositions come out. So that could be a bit of a struggle for Boston. Having said that, Washington are hinting that they might be wanting to run more of like this ball poke comp kind of setup, which is also viable on Volskaya.
Yeah, we'll see. It's a lot. I mean, the meta is incredibly open at the moment in terms of what you can play. It really is. Which is exciting, honestly. I think, honestly, it kind of comes about as well with not many huge, massive changes with, you know, without heroes being introduced as well. In a weird kind of way, if I am going to look at a silver lining of something like that, you do get to see like a lot of creativity and these different compositions and styles really arising in those scenarios. When you don't see these massive, massive balance changes. Little subtle tweaks is all you need.
Look at that sleep up top. Myunbong laid down. Stan1 has to play a little more passively because he didn't have access to that Ana healing, but it doesn't matter. Closer falls anyway. And the Washington Justice, they didn't go for the ball poke comp. Instead, it's the double bubble. Jerry's a bit trapped in there. Wasn't quite able to get with the rest of his team. And we're going to see pretty slow-paced performance here. The key for the Boston Uprising is for Stan1 to go for these mini dives on top of the truck and just laser down the back line when they try and get through. The Washington Justice should find it hard for Closer and Bebe and Jerry to path through these corridors.
Yeah, and like you said, Josh, Stan1 just doing his job, just trying to basically stop them from pushing through the initial choke point. Mag going to be trying to dive in, but whether intentionally or not, he falls to the low ground and Bionade catches. Takes Mag out. Healing comes through, so the rest of Boston are going to be healed back up as well. And yeah, that was a lovely little play.
really nicely punished, right? When an opponent makes a mistake, you have to be ready to punish it instantly. And that's what Boston have done here, and they're trying to continue to turn the screws. Really nice stuff here from the Boston Uprising.
Punk, the nano boost applied to him. He's got 85 charge. Can't really play off the back of it too much. Might be able to beam them down though. Come close to maybe building up that grab, but backs off eventually. Nano boost having to apply it, I think, because they didn't want to lose him. They didn't want to lose that charge as well. Obviously, when the Zarya gets taken out, you lose all the accompanying charge that you've built up off the back of it. So saving Punk there, but not really building up the grab off the back of it.
No, and Fury has a grab of his own. That is a beautiful Bionade.
Oh my God.
Catches Jerry, but takes down Decay. That's exactly what Washington wanted. So far, what Washington want to do is get Decay in on one of these angles to create a bit of a distraction, a bit of space, so that the backline can path through. And they're going to try and use Mag to take control of the hut high ground as well, to push people back. There's a pulse bomb attempt, sneaky Valentine around the corner, but Decay pushes him away. Good, decisive play here from Washington. But there's Stan 1 again, and this time he has his primal.
Yep. Mag's in the back line. You can see him. He's unleashed his primal rage just to try and disjoint them. And it's a very split approach by both of these teams. You can see them just trying to find an opportunity. They're diving now onto I'm37, but look at the heals coming through. So much work being done. I believe that's Faith with the armor packs, and the rally has been built up. Bob sent off the map. I don't know if that was intentional. Most likely not. Still, the grab in close quarters. Big Bionade and Nano Boost applied. The turnaround! Punk finding so much damage now with the extra Nano Boost applied on top of him. Decay finding Punk though. Stan 1 out of position, but he does have the bubble, and now he's going to be diving back in. He realizes, okay, we can catch Jerry here. We can stop them right before they get even started in a foothold. Wonderful, wonderful work by the Boston Uprising.
This is really nice play by the Boston. They are finding such great opportunities. Even when Mag was primaling the entirety of their backline, the whole of Boston was working really well together to stop him having that huge impact. This time they push away Stand 1, have to deal with Valentine a little bit here. They need to try and push him away from that position. If they can force him to recall or blink away, that'll open up space. Justice, they popped out the rally, but Mag falls immediately. Flashbang by M37.
Mag going down. You don't have that main tank to create space for you. I'm37 pushed off, but the Washington Justice eventually breaking through. It's looking tight as well. They didn't have much time to work with, but they just about managed to make it work in the end. Corralling the Boston Uprising again into that little room. They are going to be able to cap up this objective, but it looks like Boston might be squaring up for a recontest, Josh.
I mean, yeah, they're not going to give it to them for free, I don't think. Looks like there's going to be a recontest here. Stan 1 up over the top. He nearly has primal as well. If they can get the nano on him, Stan 1 needs to be saved. He can't be.
Okay. A little bit dangerous there. Yeah, and I mean, a cutesy attempt as well by Boston. Only the very best teams really try and press every advantage they can find. That recontest almost worked out for them. But they're going to be spawning
a good idea.
Nice and quickly, yeah.
Stan 1 was on 90% of his primal, and Myeonbong was on 96% of his nano, either of which could have saved them. And here comes Mag on the other end. Beautiful mechanics.
Yeah, look at this guy go with the primal rage. Makes it look like a dragon blade. Just forcing the positioning all over the place. Jerry with the nano boost applied to him, falling so low here. He's being battered by Stand 1, but will be kept alive. Thanks to the nano boost again. Myeongbong though trading one out. And Fury, he's all charged up here. Perfectly applied bubble now as he's trying to save his backline. Faith eventually beamed down, not able to stand up to it. The Deadeye comes through, but blocked up by the bubble. Still Boston finding opportunities as the players are spawning back into this fight, Josh. And it was looking great for Washington. They got 85%, but they just about squeaked out the recontest and eventually saving it.
Yeah, Boston are actually playing really smartly with how they position themselves around the map. They get Faith in such a deep, advanced position, and Fury turns to try and punish that, but it still creates space for Stand 1 to get in deep. And again, they just keep cycling these players around, playing the important positions, and making sure that they're distracting the backline constantly. Fury was charged up, doing a ton of damage, but they just couldn't lock down those targets and wipe them out.
Dive early here, the bubble applied as well to Mag. Stand 1 again, sort of mini dive as you can see comes through to just try and deny the positioning away. And very close to these ultimates. Boston going to be looking for this grab now as Punk is very close to building it. He's got it. Now the engage goes through once again, comes through. Punk actually going to be jumping over to the other side of things with the right click. Catches the grab onto one, but only the one target. Bebe falls. And while that was going on, the Washington Justice, they jump into the back line, and Mag is getting so much work done. Look at the work! He's absurd!
Oh my god, that's 4 kills for Mag so far in this fight. He turned that from an unwinnable situation into a dominant one for the Washington Justice. Solo diving the back line, he takes out both of them. Then I'm 37, comes back in to finish off another player. What did I just witness? That's some fearless level stuff.
Yeah, it's absolutely absurd. Feels like every year we get these up-and-coming players, and they just showcase really what you can do on a variety of roles. I mean, Winston gameplay like that is just beautiful to watch as well.
It is.
Really controlling the battlefield.
Don't get it wrong. 2021 is the best year of rookie main tanks we've ever seen. You say that we often have a crop of good rookies. Yeah, supports, DPS, a lot of stuff like that. It is unusual for there to be this many incredible rookie main tanks coming into a season. Look how expertly Mag works around the point, works with Decay as well, who got into the backlines and turns this one around. By the way, the rest of his team at this point had been grabbed and nanoed in the backlines. He had to turn this almost single-handedly. He did have help from Decay there a little bit towards the end, but that is just genius. When you think about how good Mag is, when you think about how excellent Django has been playing as well, and then with the potential for other star main tanks as well that have just come straight out of contenders to perform, this is a fantastic crop that we've got this year.
It certainly is, as well. I mean, I just want to watch that replay again. I mean, it was just absurd. It's hard to appreciate how difficult what he was doing is, and it feels like I'm almost blowing it out of proportion, but it's ridiculous in terms of you have to get very precise key presses to get short little hops like that on Winston while controlling the Primal Rage. It requires a ton of practice. It's very, very difficult. Yet the fight continues. The Boston Uprising on the attack. They can see where the goalpost is. A lot of damage into stand one. That bubble was applied quite late. They might be able to chunk him down as he was forced down to the low ground. Couldn't capitalize off of it. Jerry on the high ground now, being pressured away. But the bubble blocking line aside. I don't think Jerry could get healed.
Yeah, I think that they really struggled to get there. Jerry clearly looked like he was expecting there to be some healing coming through. Closer and Bebe, though, weren't really in a position to be able to deliver it to him. Fury's been bashed over there as well. Kind of isolated from the rest of his team, as Boston Uprising just take control of important positions again with this double bubble composition. They are controlling the map, and again, not opting into the mirror.
That's wonderful play from the back line there. You can see that Mag was going for a play, but taken out, and now the nano boost applied to stand one. The choke point's just getting completely locked up. Fury left standing is going to get the mega health pack. He actually took out I'm 37. Accretion? My god.
Wait, he takes down Valentine as well?
What? No way is he staying alive here. That is absurd. I mean, he gets taken down eventually.
Wait, but he's just saved the entire team fight for his team. Because the Boston Uprising were on attack here, right? Even though it looks really weird and it almost looks like they're the defenders pushing deep into spawn, they were trying to contest this objective. The fact that they chased Fury for an extra 10 seconds and he took down both the DPS might allow the Washington Justice to recontest here.
Well, they're going to try and be pushed off here. You can see Mag has actually got back into the fight. Some heroics from Fury might be enough to stop them. The rally's going to be used now by Faith. The team wants the extra health to try and work with Grenade Flux, catching everybody. Pulse Bomb leading into it. It sets up Decay perfectly for the two-piece. And the Transcendence, Bebe just backing off as well, putting in that consistent damage. Still taken out in the end as he was caught out of position. Decay's trying to still make it work for his team. Just putting in that damage, trying to get the kill onto Faith. Eventually he's going to get it. And Jerry, they bought enough time for him to get back into the action. Bob laid down. The damage is done. Boston have to go back to the drawing board.
Decay is a monster in terms of how he cleans that up. The pulse bomb off the back of Fury's gravitic flux, and then his tracking and his ability to just find value in these scrappy fights is so huge. But my mind keeps going back to Fury on Sigma. How did they not kill him? How on earth did that mistake happen? The Boston Uprising got 2 ticks, sure, but not the point. And that's what they're going for. Now there's only a minute left.
Bubble applied. Myunbong has to use the Bionade just to heal up his team here. Nano Boost still holding on to it. playing in close quarters. A nice sleep dart catches, and Punk is going to be nanoed up again here. He's built up the grab. He's going to be using it as a solo grab onto Fury. Huge bionade. Fury did not have the barrier to save himself there, to purge off the anti-heal. The fight still stretching out though. Washington do not want to give this one up, and they're just trying to pressure down Punk as well, who's caught into the corner. He's got 100 charge, but he can't find the angles. They're stuck, corralled again into the Mega Health Pack room. A reminder, the Boston Uprising, they still have players behind them into this point. They just can't quite take care of them. Still, Jerry falls. The flashbang of I'm37 as he works his way around the flank. The sleep dart onto Decay as well. Locks him up long enough for them to capitalize, but Washington want to keep fighting it, Josh.
They do, but it is game over at this point. With 19 seconds on the clock, Boston are going to wrap it up. On the back of some big plays from Myunbong and I'm37 as well. I'm37 in the scrappy engagement is roaming around all over the place. Look at this, they've left Fury behind as well.
This
is unfortunate.
Brutal.
He is not going to be able to get those fast respawns anymore too, because he didn't choose to immediately reset himself. He's behind them, trying to build up to another mech. What is going on here?
This is a logic puzzle that you're never going to see in Overwatch, really. Like, what you do in this scenario, Fury's just trying to build up his mech in the back line of the enemy team, the Transcenders to keep them alive. Washington Justice just trying to hold on here while they're buying time for Fury. Now, Fury's back in the fight, but he's been chunked down heavily still. Decay is the one to step up. As Punk will go down, the fight isn't over yet. Fury gets taken out there, buying enough time for them, but eventually, as Valentine goes down, they're going to be missing a ton of damage now. And Boston, they decide, okay, we're just going to give this one up and back off.
I think Fury got back in mech just in time to shut down I'm37's Deadeye. That was what he got taken out by, and I'm pretty sure he was either body blocking it, defense matrix in it, as he just got back into his mech. Now makes the swap over to Zarya too, so as long as he can stay on these high grounds, he's going to be able to pump out a huge amount of damage and give Mag the bubbles he needs to disrupt the Boston Uprising backline. Mag does not want to have to deal with the bashes and the flashes coming out from Faith and I'm37 when he tries to disrupt.
A lot of damage onto Valentine, the recall forced out as well. And as that was going on, Stan1 was trying to create a bit of space. He's going to get taken out as well. Still, look at that, the stick! Oh my goodness, I'm37 rolled into it. Special delivery to the rest of the team. Straight to Boston.
Decay's brain works on a higher wavelength. He moves so quickly. His tracking is incredible, and it's a lot of little micro adjustments as well when you look at his aim. It's so gorgeous to watch the way that he plays Tracer. And at the moment, he is getting the better end of Valentine. He does sometimes overstep himself, try to take on a little too much, but when you have mechanical talent like that, it's almost hard not to. You believe in yourself. You pick yourself up as a deity in your own head, and I think there's some Washington Justice fans as well that might treat him like that.
Yeah, you can absolutely understand, I think, sometimes when Decay does overstep himself ever so slightly. I mean, we've seen him single-handedly win games sometimes, so I'm not surprised.
They have Nano and Grab here, Boston. I'm expecting those to be
Grab's
comboed together. Here it comes.
Valentine in the right place at the right time. The post bomb laid down, 4 kills. Surely that's going to be enough. A last-ditch effort now from the Washington Justice. As you can see, Mag just trying to buy as much time as humanly possible. Fury going to be just about contesting as well, but he's going to get taken out very quickly. Now the stall comes out. Washington trying to make it work. Nice sleep dart. You can see Closer's got to stay alive here as he's being pressured by so many elements now of the Boston Uprising. And as that was going on, the team is happy to clean up. Bebe eventually falls as well, tracked out of the sky, and they're going to cap it up with time.
Not bad in the slightest there from Boston. They are really impressing me over the course of this series. I don't think the Washington Justice are playing poorly. I think this is Boston Uprising stepping up. Yes, they don't have a map on the board right now, but they are making each map winnable. The way that they closed out that fight as well was really nice. I thought we were going to see quite a basic execution of just, okay, Stan1 gets the nano boost, he jumps up on the high ground, tries to pressure the backline, and the backline end up running away and kiting him. Instead, it's much more complex. Stan1 jumps up, and then as he falls back off, just kind of pushing the backline away slightly, Closer and Bebe, shoving them away, breaking LOS, and then as he drops down, Closer and Bebe are naturally going to run forwards a little bit. So look at the way that this works. Closer and Bebe are kind of baited forward into this huge grab as they peek to try and get line of sight back onto the rest of their team. And then Valentine comes through with the absolute closer onto Closer. It's
such a
really nicely
cinematic
played,
shot
though.
as well.
Yeah, it's not as simple as just grab pulse bomb. It's the way that they set up that big grab that's so important. To get that value for Punk is necessary to close out the fight, and Boston do it so well by the way that they're controlling and pressuring certain areas of the map. They're clearly a team that's put in a lot of thought to how they play these comps, and I'm loving it, personally. I'm here for Boston being a good team.
Defend objective A.
I mean, like I was saying earlier, the fans have been waiting so long for a Boston Uprising squad that they can be, proud of, that this team's going to be able to perform. They've certainly been doing that in this series, making it very close and competitive. Jerry again on this high ground. Last time we saw that was a bit of a weak point for them. Stan one this time going to be prioritizing the high ground again. Oversteps himself actually a little bit. That's a rare mistake.
What a pile drive. Mag bionaded. Can they stop him from getting punished here? Yes. And everybody else on the Boston Uprising who tried to chase that kill on the little hamster gets crushed beneath the boot of the Washington Justice.
15 seconds left now for Boston on the attack. It takes a long time to try and set up the team fights when you're playing these double bubble comps.
Oh yeah.
It really does.
That's why, look at Punk, he goes over himself to Wrecking Ball, and Stan one,
Yep,
he's just got to go in.
The Cretan, I believe, connected onto Punk there, so it stopped him from trying to connect onto the point, and that is going to be it. The Boston Uprising unable to get any sort of percentage on the board here on their attack. The second time.
A draw, though, a draw would still be impressive for Boston and would keep this series going. With how close they've played the Washington Justice, it would be such a shame if this defense fell to pieces. There's only a minute and 24 seconds on the clock. This is so winnable for Boston. They did a great job at it in their previous time around. They were doing a very good job in terms of getting Stan 1 into the right positions. He wasn't overextending. He was still just continuing to put good pressure onto Closer, onto Bebe. And Decay himself was being kept in check. A similar point A defense, and we've got a draw on our hands here, which Boston Uprising fans can be very happy about moving later into the series.
Certainly can. I mean, we saw on the previous attack for Washington, they took a long time of trying to get past that choke point. Boston had a great understanding of how to stop them. It's quite difficult when you're playing these compositions. I wonder if we're going to see like an evolution of it at some point, we start to see teams being a bit more creative in terms of how they want to attack. Maybe, the Symmetra teleport. Used to see that way back in the day.
Sure.
Going over the left-hand approach or something, essentially just to try and break past this choke point. I mean, we may see it. Still early days in the metagaming.
Mirror composition here. Washington going for a double bubble approach. This is still a fairly slow-paced composition, but it's possible that Bebe or Mag could get an ultimate on board for a final fight if they try to play it slowly.
You can see they don't have much time to work with, but only a tick. That's what they need to take this map away. Boston going to be fighting for this draw. Counter engage.
Mag is jumping up there to try and put his bubble in the way to block LOS from Myeonbong onto Stan 1 so that they can punish the Winston, and they do manage to get it. Mag only just managed to block a little bit, and they forced Stan 1 to jump away, and now Washington have just got it all. With the main tank down, there's nothing Boston can do.
Yep. It's almost like a game of chess. You can see Faith couldn't do much there, but hold the shield, and it's not going to be enough here. The Washington Justice could be taking map number 2, but my God, did they have to work for it. This Boston Uprising is not a team you can underestimate.
No, you can't take them lightly by any means, but full credit to Washington there. Their adaptation for that final OT round, the final, last a chance to attack and secure Volskaya for them, that was some beautiful stuff. Love that play, and just reinforcing the idea that Mag is one of the front runners right now for Rookie of the Year. His understanding of how to play these tanks, and particularly Winston, it's got to be said, is elite. The guy nearly set a record recently when they played against Dallas for most Primal Rage kills in a map. So he's definitely up there.
Yeah, and it's the big question, isn't it? We're going to see more of that continued domination from Mag. Are they going to be able to close out this series? Will it be the Boston Uprising showcasing that they've got what it takes to go toe-to-toe with the Washington Justice even further? We'll find out on the other side of this break. Don't go anywhere, ladies and gentlemen.
The Overwatch League is brought to you by T-Mobile, America's largest and fastest 5G network. Set your sights on the competition with T-Mobile. and by Xfinity, the preferred internet provider of the Overwatch League. The Overwatch League is brought to you by Pringles. Stay in the game.
And here's our Indeed player resume. Yep, it's going to be going towards Mag so far. And this guy, I mean, you can see a lot of his accomplishments right here. The guy is an absurd talent. For the longest time, I was wondering, you know, when is he going to be in the Overwatch League? And finally, we get to see him play. As you can see as well, most likely to win 2021 Rookie of the Year. 4 votes from the preseason GM survey. A lot of expectations on this guy's shoulders.
I agree with that as well. He is my front runner to win 2021 Rookie of the Year. If he's playing like he's showcased so far, and maybe even continues to evolve over the course of the season, and he's playing on a successful team, which by all accounts the Washington Justice look like they're going to be, then he's got to be at least in the running. Yeah, he was actually eligible to play last season, interestingly enough, but he was he's born in like very late May or June or something, so he would have only been available for the playoffs. So didn't actually end up getting picked up, and continued an excellent legacy within Runaway, the Contenders team that has produced so much fantastic talent for the Overwatch League over their time, including Assassin.
Yeah, Assassin coming in for Jerry here. And we're going to see the Decay Assassin duo as well. Yeah, it's a dangerous duo. You never really want to be playing against it. And on the other side of things, the Boston Uprising. Obviously, we mentioned it briefly, but Valentine has been a guy who's been kind of you know, when they're jumping into that kind of tracer role, Valentine's been having to match it when he wasn't really intended to be filling those shoes. We're heading into King's Row, so I don't know if we're going to be seeing too much of that tracer gameplay that I was mentioning. Possibly rush comps by both these teams, but we'll see as we can head into our Xfinity map leaderboard. I mean, the Justice current, I believe, what is that, the record holders against the San Francisco Shock? That's impressive.
Yeah, I can't say I particularly remember when that was, but the
Yeah,
Washington Justice, I mean, it was probably in the playoffs at some point, I would imagine.
Right?
Because that's when the Washington Justice was so good. And it was, and it was when they were at their best. Yeah, we just had confirmation that that was during the playoffs. I mean, that makes perfect sense. That was when Decay was in as well. So that is a pretty relevant stat as well.
Run.
It was a fantastic run. And Decay's almost gone from a bit of the villain of the Overwatch League into being somewhat of a protagonist here for the Washington Justice as well. I think a lot of people are rooting for the success of this team too. It's a franchise that has rebuilt itself fantastically this year and attracted so much top talent. It's very reasonable to say that if you consider the DPS line and the tank line, it's a superstar team. The question is just how Closer and Bebe integrate themselves in, and I would say so far they've been doing a really good job. They've been doing at least up to, if not exceeding people's expectations coming into the league, coming into this season, I would say. And yeah, Bebe in particular has had some really, really nice moments.
That's the thing, you don't need to be world caliber in terms of your performance when you're playing alongside, you know, Mag, Fury, Decay, Assassin. It's these guys are going to be able to really, I think, carry a lot of the weight when it comes to their performances in matches. You really just need to be doing and playing your role, I think, if you are in a position of Closer and Bebe. But they've been doing that and more. It's definitely quite a scary squad, this Washington Justice. They're on the attack now for King's Row. Typically we see a lot of rush being played, but Justice are just teasing all sorts here and probably going to make some last-minute switches. Okay.
Just scouting, seeing what Boston are running, because there are a lot of very viable compositions right now, so that portion of the game is very important. And we're going to come out with a double bubble composition here, but with Closer on the Mercy. There's no dive component to really punish. I guess there's Valentine, actually, who could try and do some kind of engage onto Bebe, and Closer would have to be aware of that. But Closer's damage boost is going to be so good for Decay and Assassin. The poke that they're going to be able to get out and the angles they can take here on King's Row are pretty enormous.
Yeah, for sure. And Washington are currently, their aim is to just try and take as much positioning as possible without getting punished. Really, just playing on the precipice there. You can see that Mag was so low. They just want to kind of try and gain a lot of this early ground, and Boston are just not giving them any space whatsoever. The more space you give Washington with this composition, the more likely it is they're going to pry open a weakening. But Brent,
give it 30 seconds and they will force that opening, because Mag is going to have a nano boost to be able to work with. All of that damage that he just took has gone into Bebe's nano boost. And now as they take position up on the high ground, they're going to box Boston up in a corner and look for an engage. And that's why Boston go aggressive themselves.
They haven't found a kill quite yet, but they are going to get it just about the tail end. Decay falls. They give up a jump into the back line. Yeah, they've given up a lot of space now, and look at this, the positioning is rotated around. Was it worth it for that kill onto Decay? They're going to try and capitalize by converting it into another one. Potentially, Bebe does go down in the end as the Amp Matrix is dropped. And Boston in a comfortable position. The rotations around helping them in that sense. Closer eventually going down as well. But Justice just, okay, they're going to take this fight all the way to the brink. And now they're going to be re-pushing with ultimates to work with here. So the Dragon Strike is ready for Decay. Not too far off the grab as well.
But they did use both of their support ultimates. Not that they keep them alive, but that nano boost is really good for being able to make space. And the CC coming out from Valentine and I'm37 just shut Mag down. He's pushing into a flashbang and a punch, all of which are really good. Here we go, Assassin moving forwards. A punch again from Valentine. Just pushes him backwards and makes that duplicate pretty much useless.
Yeah, holding the shield for it just to protect this team. Dragon Strike from the side. It's going to split the positioning. Stand one being caught out, but his team's ready to help him here. Self-destruct is beautiful from Punk. Assassin gets taken out immediately. They want to try and capitalize and at least punish Valentine, but he ends up using the Meteor Strike, and now at the sound barrier as well. Boston are in prime position to take this fight even further.
Valentine is doing an enormous amount of work on this Doomfist. He is not just pushing back the tanks and CCing them, he is also setting up the rest of Boston Uprising to push in. His seismic slam is providing them the timings for the rest of the team to go through, and there Stand 1 was able to get a flank shatter again off the back of Valentine's pressure. This is what we expected from this potential superstar player for the Boston Uprising. He hasn't showcased too much of it yet, but on the Doomfist, this is looking pretty good.
Oh, Mag just gets blown up by the Amp Matrix. Surely that's going to be the go button here for Boston. They were hunting for Fury, trying to maybe force out the ultimate, maybe get a kill, but they back off. 30 seconds almost now, Josh. That's what they're going to be working with. As they go
a decent opportunity. They have a nano boost here to put onto Mag, make some space, and then Assassin is going to have the duplicate. I want to watch Valentine again here and see what he's able to do. Can he relieve pressure for Boston?
Boston's positioning, you can see them playing quite far back into the choke point. They're willing to accept a lot of this aggression that's coming through now into the backline. The Deadeye, look at this, trying to make it happen. Primal Rage as well. He hasn't been taken out, the Deadeye. I'm 37 just holds it, and eventually brings him down. The shots are coming off. The duplicate comes through as Assassin. He's going to try and clutch it up now onto the Doomfist. It's not going to be enough though. Builds up the Meteor Strike quickly, and it is quite enough. Still, with the Amp Matrix down, eventually going to be forcing them through. The Dragon Strike Decay, surely not. He might just be turning this now with the help of the rest of his team. The pin comes through from downtown. Stand 1 takes him out, but it's not enough. The Washington Justice just about squeaking it out. And look at that, checkpoint A going their way.
Only just, though. Whoa, that was
ridiculous.
They had to solo grab Valentine to be able to lock him down and take him out. And Assassin just gets the duplicate off on him at the same time. So they flip it completely. Rather than Boston having a Doomfist, they ripped Valentine's life away and hand it over to Assassin. And the clutch potential wildly swung the way of the Washington Justice. And now we're seeing, essentially, the Rush Mirror. It's a bit of a weird composition here, I guess, for Justice. They wouldn't normally be running the May Hangzhou, perhaps, but May Hangzhou is still extremely good.
Ults now. Boston Uprising going to be taking it aggressively. The Immortality Field was laid down earlier, but they have the soundbar of that health advantage now. Moving into this one, oh my goodness, the Meteor Strike from the high ground. Almost taken out Decay, but eventually he will fall. Justice like, all right, okay, we'll give you a freebie at the end of the day. But Justice are playing a very odd style of Rush. They're kind of... They've got a bit of carryovers from the previous composition that they've been playing. They're not playing the complete mirror, obviously.
No, they're not. And that's going to hurt them a little bit because they don't have the Immortality Field, which is so useful. And Decay doesn't play like something like McCree, which is so good at shutting down Valentine. There's a Bionade, so Valentine has to back.
Oh, I'm 37 is caught. Oh, the Amp Matrix as well. That is so much damage on top of the Deadeye, and look at that. I'm 37, only 38 health, but it does not matter. Able to clean up this fight with the help of the rest of the Boston Uprising. And Justice, are they going to be making some moves here? Trying to mirror
because
them?
Brett, I don't think that they're going to change to Decay in any way because they have the Grav Dragon Strike to be able to close this out. I think Decay would be doing more in these fights if he was playing the McCree, but they are so close to these ultimates that that's what you've got to invest in. But yes, Bebe with the Immortality Field is going to be crucial for them here. It is the right pick.
It's going to be big. We'll see how they can convert it here. Again, the engagement by Valentine! Fury goes down, that's no grav! 20 seconds remaining, and now they're going to be forced to clutch it up. Valentine in close quarters, they force Decay back. Josh, I don't know if they're going to have enough time for this.
Valentine's engagement there, the seismic slam, the uppercut, and then a punch against the wall. Immortality Field doesn't matter. You raise him above it and take him out. Do they have the time? Can they touch the payload and win the team fight?
They need to touch the payload. Someone just about gets onto it. The grab is going to connect. Immortality Field laid down with a bunch of ultimates. And Decay is going to get 2. But now they're playing into this Amp Matrix in close quarters. Boston looking to try and turn this one. It's so dangerous to play into this one because I'm 37 is making full advantage of it. The Amplification Matrix gives him all the damage he needs. The Deadeye on top. I don't believe what I'm witnessing. Ridiculous performances from him in the streets. And there you go. Holy smokes.
Redemption for I'm 37 as well. So many question marks about this guy coming into the league in 2021. He was almost a bit of a meme figure the last time that he was in the league. because he had sped run the path to pro, people were making jokes about him replacing the commissioner of the Overwatch League and stuff. And he was just a humorous figure. He didn't really achieve very much once he came in. And he took a time, you know, for all of the promotions he got in his opening season, he was demoted back down to contenders pretty quickly. But he has been one of those players that's put in the work and is now proving himself that he is now that level where he belongs in the Overwatch League. That was a fantastic spree towards the end there. Look at this replay. He does so much work. Dodging this, getting out of the blizzard. Amp Matrix allows him to take down Assassin. So much damage that he's pumping out continuously in this fight, including a gorgeous little headshot towards the end too.
And he has to play so careful here. Look at the amount of pressure that's being put out onto him. Because again, it's such a small window of opportunity. I mean, pardon the pun, but with the amplification matrix down, he doesn't have far that he can stretch out to take advantage of it. And he has to play patiently because they're spamming him the entire time. Just countless pressure, but he makes it work in the end. Performing under pressure. That's what you want to see out of Overwatch League caliber players. And I'm 37 showcasing again that he has what it takes to compete against the very best.
And that's what the entirety of Boston is doing here, competing against a team that all of us believe are some of the very best. Washington Justice on the defense here, running Fury on the Sigma. He's going to be able to control high grounds really nicely. And Decay and Assassin continuing to play that May Hangzhou. I was wondering whether they were going to commit to it, but it seems like they are. So not that much again to deal with Valentine in this situation. He could continue to go huge.
Bit of point pressure being applied by Boston, but the tick is not going to get given up as Mag has dropped down. See Decay on the off angle. It's going to be matched. Actually, 91 health, has to back off around this corner, get healed up. This is such a dangerous 1v1 to try and take. Yeah, controlling this flank is so important. And now the brawl takes place as the tank lines are going to just mash into one another. I'm 37, bringing down Decay. That's created an opening in the back line. Washington have to try and close out this fight quickly, but they're finding it hard to do.
They are. Bebe's towards the back, though, continuing to apply damage. And the Boston Uprising, they had an opportunity there. The control of Hotel went the way of I'm 37. That's going to be crucial for them, making sure that they shut down Decay and that he cannot clutch these fights. But even after they'd invested all of those resources and attention into taking down Mag, just couldn't make the rest of the fight go their way. Didn't have the best positions in the world. So Boston, again, reset. That's a minute and a half off the clock already.
And that's comes down disastrous. Early. Yep. One arrow, that's all it takes, and Valentine is gone straight through that window. And it's a bit of mistiming there.
Brent, I hate to bring this up so early on, but so far the story of this match has been Boston are playing Justice close, but not close enough. Are we really going to see the Boston Uprising hold Washington to only 75 meters after checkpoint A and still lose? Surely not. But they only have 2 minutes.
Yeah, 2 minutes to work with. The ults are going to be relatively even by the time Boston get into position here. And they were caught off guard by Bebe's Amp Matrix. Obviously, I think the ult tracking was a little bit off. That's what caused them to lose that previous team fight. The advantage they've got now is that Myungmong has one of his own. And that's what they're going to be using now to initiate into this fight. Mag has to just hold his shield here. And the wall goes up, actually. It's going to give him a bit of a respite, the Dragon Strike, to break through them as well. Forces out the Immortality Field early. And no one has dislodged Fury from the high ground. Valentine's attempting to do it, but not enough. Time being bought, though, Josh. No casualties.
No casualties at all, which is, in some sense, good for Boston, but they've only just taken that high ground. Here we go. Hotel completely secured. They push them back towards Arch, and here we go. Boston Uprising are going to engage.
Yep, they found an opportunity here. The Blizzard comes down, the Earth Shatter. Mag, I believe he caught it onto the only targets that mattered. The tank line is not going to be able to compete. And they're able to just connect up these kills. Valentine has to use the Meteor Strike. I don't know if that's wise. Use the Meteor Strike to disengage. He could have saved that ult now. They still have time.
They still have 50 seconds here. And Valentine is struggling. The idea is that he wants the Seismic Slam targets that the rest of his team can run over, but he just can't find the opportunities to engage. Washington are holding onto the high ground so successfully. This time Valentine with a bit of a flank. He just missed the punch onto Mag.
Yeah, Mag gets pushed out into the side. They're not able to get the kill onto him though, and I'm 37 off onto the side. He's brought down Decay once again. This extra damage off into the flank, the extra pressure has split the attention, but Fury is trying to clutch this up for his team still. Is it going to be enough? Mag falls, and Punk is still perfectly healthy to take this fight further forward. Eventually it's enough. Boston Uprising just about overcome it. But Josh now 2 minutes and roughly 30 seconds is what they're going to be going with. This card takes a bit of time to get through this choke point as well. If Justice are fast, they can take maybe 2 team fights. This is still not an easy win just yet for Boston. They've got a bit more to go.
Certainly not guaranteed, but I would say the hardest part is over. When you only have 20 seconds, breaking through that is huge for the Boston Uprising. This next team fight could decide it all as well. Look at that May wall. Almost caught stand 1, but not quite.
It's split the positioning. Mag's out of position. He's been called into the corridor, but look at this, the bait and switch. The gravitic flux comes up, sends it back down again. Stand 1 solo. The immortality field keeping him alive. Just trying to stay alive for as long as possible, but Fury caught out of position. There's not a lot he can do. The peel comes through as Closer tries to help him out. The boop away, just backing off, searching desperately for a pick. Gravitic Flux now comes out into the Gravitic Flux to push them off of the cart. Bebe falls in the end. Boston so close to doing it. The Rock connects Closer, trying to contest, but it's not enough. And the Boston Uprising are going to be taking a map in this series and showcasing again that they can stand up to the Titans that is the Washington Justice.
What a map. What a series so far, actually. Not expected that this one would be so close. And yet Boston are playing up to their opponents for sure. I like the strategies that they're running here. We talked, or rather when we were talking to some of the players and coaches at the beginning of the season, a lot of people were mentioning this Doomfist brawl, this Doomfist rush kind of comps that were being played early on in scrims. And we haven't really seen it play out that much. In the matches, we haven't seen too many people pull out a composition like this. But it suits the Boston Uprising so much.
Yeah.
It allows Valentine to really flex on what he's good at, rather than having to fill the roles that he perhaps wasn't brought into the team to actually play.
We'll see if the Boston Uprising can keep this trend going. Will they be able to complete the reverse sweep? Well, we're going to find out soon enough, as map 4 will be coming up after the break.
Coca-Cola is the official refreshment of the Overwatch League.
Welcome back from the break, everybody, and if you're just joining us, you may be witnessing something quite surprising here, as we're witnessing the Washington Justice versus the Boston Uprising, and currently the Boston Uprising making it competitive. This entire season long, they've been playing it very close, but just not quite getting a map until now. They currently just squeaked it out, and they're well on their way to potentially beginning the reverse sweep as we're heading into our 4th map of the series.
Yeah, I think counting out the Boston Uprising is foolish at this point in the season. And it's potentially foolish for any team, to be honest. We all knew that the competitive level of the league was raising this year, but that doesn't just mean the top, it also means the bottom too. And Boston Uprising, even they weren't actually anticipated to be a bottom level team. They've got some good talent on it. Valentine is considered to be a very a player brimming with potential coming out of contenders. And his partner, I'm 37, we already talked about quite a bit on King's Row here. Look at his McCree stats. Those are good.
Yes, those are very, very good. I mean, we saw some fantastic moments from him, I think, as well. Just salvaging almost the fight in the streets phase of King's Row. We just witnessed that. And this guy as well, I think he's got a lot to prove, Josh. You set it up beautifully when you were explaining that this guy's career in the Overwatch League, it was kind of, the butt of a lot of jokes in terms of how quickly he rose up and, never really found that he was performing up to the level of, I think expectations for him. But obviously, we all love a good redemption story. He went back into contenders, he's grinded his way back up, and now he's got another opportunity in the Overwatch League to prove himself against some of the very best players in the world. Look at who he's been up against, Decay and Assassin. It's just, I mean, it's a scary matchup, but they have just been taking this challenge in its stride, honestly, and now we're looking at potentially them reverse sweeping as we're heading into Havana.
That's what they would have to do in order to complete the match, for sure. And Havana, it's pretty open in terms of the compositions you can run. We could see some kind of Rush-esque mirror like we saw on King's Row, or we might see the teams opt for some kind of double shield kind of setup. That tends to be the way that things have worked, or maybe even some kind of ball setup as well. Although most teams are tending towards either the rush or the double shield. For the Boston Uprising though, Bren, as well, this is an opportunity to prove people wrong, even if they lose this match, that they are continuing the kind of Boston curse of being at the bottom of the barrel. A lot of people were very quick to write off teams like Boston and even London, who are going to be playing later on this week too, after a pretty woeful showing in their first couple of matches. But there's 16 matches in the season minimum for regular season, so only 1/8 completed so far for Boston. Still time to redeem themselves. Every match does matter, don't get me wrong, but there's still time to turn it around when we're this early on. And Boston, I think, here are showcasing that they have more to give, more than they've shown so far.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, it's probably the most competitive season of the Overwatch League that we've ever had, I think. And I mean, that's not even really up for debate. Every team is retooling with side grades or upgrades in some capacity, and you've ended up with some really close games thus far. It's hard to predict how most matches are going to go. The Washington Justice, though, going to be playing the rush composition, again with Decay on the Hangzhou, up close. We've seen this so often on Havana. These teams just trying to take as many team fights as possible, and that means you're fighting right at the spawn door.
Wow, and Valentine immediately makes himself known there. Destruction of Mag. That's huge. Weird to have Decay on Hangzhou, actually. When you're trying to hold close to the spawn door like this, normally you would want a McCree, something that can brawl really close range. They're playing with a Sigma and a Hangzhou, which is much more of a slow-paced version of this composition. So that was entirely ineffective. And Mag is going to look rough here, because he's fighting against a McCree and a Doomfist. It's somewhat similar to the May Doomfist stuff that we've seen recently from the Dallas Fuel, and I think the Houston Outlaws also brought it out for one map, where the main tank is just the focus of bullying. Mag is going to get bullied by the CC from Valentine, and I'm 37.
Someone already building up this Earth Shadow! Oh my goodness! Connects it onto a couple of targets, but that's all you need when you got the amplification matrix behind you. Finds them quite easily, and Josh, dare I say, so far over the course of this series, it's looking like the Washington Justice, at least when it comes to those rush compositions, when you're mirroring up between them, Boston seem to have a slight edge in terms of their understanding of just how to take these team fights.
Yeah, and I'm not sure that's going to translate all the time, but I think specifically Washington are struggling to deal with the Doomfist. They don't have a great answer for it. Decay started on Hangzhou, went to McCree, now he's back to Hangzhou, Fury swapped over to Diva. They're still trying to figure this out on the fly, and it's the same comp that they struggled with, or a very similar comp, as King's Road. You know, they just haven't really figured out how to relieve this pressure on Mag and allow their rookie main tank to dominate the game in the same way that he's been able to against other teams.
Opportunity here for Washington. They're going to play fast, right round the corner as the Matrix goes down. The Fire Strike went through the window, but ate up in the end by Punk. And Boston obviously just going to respect it. Eventually it's going to fade, and now they're going to start to rotate back around. Gravitic Flux going to be used. Ultimates just traded out. Sound Barrier used as well. Punk now at the off angle. Accretion's going to get blocked up here as he's on the bridge. Forced to drop down to be with the rest of his team, but I'm37 goes down. You'll be finding a lot less damage now in these team fights if you are the Boston Uprising. I don't know if you want to continue to fight this.
Good investment of ultimates there from the Washington Justice, particularly Assassin. Throwing that Blizzard around the corner relieved so much of the pressure from his tank line. And here comes Decay, doesn't manage to get eaten out there. No Diva on the other side. Decay is firing in. It's a bit of a zoning ultimate, honestly, because it just pushes people into sight lines that are easier for him to shoot.
Well,
and it breaks apart Boston Uprising's hold on that high ground.
It also pushes them off the high ground. It's just one of the more important aspects of it. It's and now we've seen this so many times from teams. If you can't make the first few team fights work at that left-hand approach, you take it around this side as well, and you want to try and take this high ground away. Obviously, Washington not going to want to give this up. They're going to be fighting over this control early.
Oh, that Diva Bomb in the backline from Fury. It forced the hand of the Boston Uprising. They had to go more quickly, and they kind of messed it up. Valentine is the last hope, I think, here of Boston Uprising saving stuff. I'm37 still finds a pick, though, in the backline of Valentine. He's still getting work done. Maybe an Assassin fall in a situation where the Justice should have been favored.
Yeah, and they were just ignoring Punk that entire time. However, they trade out the team fight evenly. And with the players available for Boston, they can start pushing this cart around the corner. Washington don't want to give up positioning. Look how close the tank line is holding here. They're at risk of really being driven out, but eventually the Washington Justice are going to regroup now and start to recontrol a lot of this high ground. They don't want to give this up too easily. And Matrix, the Gravitic Flux from the opposition as Boston are trying to put an end to it. Immortality Field will go down. Fire Strike through the corner. Mag has the Earth Shadow. See what he can do with it as well. Just waiting for the perfect opportunity. Boston leading it in though. Deadeye is going to be used to create a bit of space. The Ice Wall eventually is going to drop down. Still holding it. The Earth Shadow comes through the side. Not finding anything. Dragon Strike from Decay to try and split the positioning, but not good enough here, Josh.
Really well played again from Boston. I just kind of want to walk you through those two little team fights. They tried to engage there and they got pushed back by Assassin's Blizzard, and Boston showcasing their ability to move on the fly and react. They disengage nicely and push back in with I'm37's Deadeye. They catch out Mag and punish the main tank. Really well played by Boston. Very nice back and forth. Disengaging is the sign of a good team that's well-rounded, knows what they're doing, and here comes Justice again.
Valentine missed his punch. Had to use it to reposition here. Meteor Strike's going to be used. Sound Barrier traded by both the teams to keep them into the fight and to match pound for pound. You can see Valentine just trying to create as much pressure as possible, but eventually he will be taken down. And as the South Destruct is sent in, again, Boston Uprising can't really be fighting into them. Still swinging away. Stand one, falling very, very low here. Has to be careful. Eventually will go down in the end as well, as Mag just sends the Fire Strike whipping his way. And Washington holding here, pretty important in the grand scheme of things now, because only a minute for Boston to try and approach this one again. And it's the uphill battle, Josh. It's always fighting over this high ground approach.
Yeah, they're going to have access to stairs, though, as the priority here, Boston, because Justice can't hold that far forwards. So they're going to be able to get in here roughly for free. The dangerous thing is Decay up on the high ground. Actually, look at this. Mag wants to fight over this so aggressively. He shattered, but the Immortality Field was there, and they kind of caught Fury.
Yeah, so much being committed into this, but no one's really died for it. They only got the Immortality Field. It's Fury who's the one who goes down here. I'm going to be running straight into them. Gravitic Flux is going to be used, but I believe maybe cancelled out there. Yeah, Punk gets frozen by Assassin's Blizzard. Not able to do anything here. It's so scrappy. The Washington Justice are split all over the place, but Boston have got the damage advantage. I'm37 works himself into a favorable position.
I did not expect Washington to play that aggressively on the defense, and it really hurt them there as well. Bebe at 82% is just trying to send heals towards anybody who's fighting this out. Mag punched up again, the CC just devastating for this Reinhardt player to play into. Imagine how awkward it feels getting punched constantly, flashed constantly, and still trying to lead the charge for the rest of your team. And Justice, they kind of crumble there, to be honest. They had Bebe and Decay playing up on the high ground where they could just continue to put out a huge amount of poke on Boston as they approach. And that decision to fight aggressively on checkpoint B could be a difference maker in this map.
The Amp Matrix again to lead in the fight, and they've poured Stand 1 out of position. No main tank means it's going to be a freebie, and look at Mag go. The charge catching onto I'm37, sending him over the edge of the map. Holding at the spawn doors here with 45 seconds left.
Yeah, this could be huge. The Justice have some big tools as well. They've got a sound barrier if they want to engage and just continue to hold this position and use that extra health. And they've also got the Dragon Strike. It gets used. How has Myungbok got this backline position as well? He snuck all the way around the side, but it's not going to be able to do anything for them. 20 seconds left, and Justice are in massive control. They used both of those big ultimates that I was talking about there, though. The Dragon Strike to push Boston Uprising back and funnel them predictably, and close the sound barrier to keep him alive.
10 seconds.
Yeah. A little flank attempt, not really working. Self-destruct comes over. Sound barrier is going to be used, but Valentine Court out of position, blown up by it. I believe that was the boop as well, coming out from closer. The Earth Shadow by Mag into the backline. He's so weak. Is there any damage to try and take down Stand 1? Indeed there is. The team follows up off the back of it. And the overtime will strike here. Boston Uprising just chucking the bodies at it just to barely keep it going. But it's probably not going to be enough. Caught just outside of the spawn doors. Justice will hold on.
Decay was pretty excellent for them there in the cleanup. He's still being able to land ridiculous shots on the Hangzhou. I'm not sure I understand exactly why he wants to go Hangzhou here against the Doomfist and the McCree. Perhaps just because he wants to be able to access the high grounds and rain damage on them from above and use the fact that Mag is such a bait to be able to get free damage on the rest of his team. But yeah,
do you want me to theory craft a little bit?
Go for it, yeah, because I haven't seen him be able to shut down Valentine properly at all.
I wonder if part of it is being able to quickly destroy the immortality field with the Storm Arrows as a part of it. Because, I mean, on the other side of things, what would you be running? Like a McCree?
A McCree would be the most natural, yeah, I think. Yeah, and the reason why I'm thinking, like, why doesn't he play the McCree is because it seems like it would be very effective at being able to put chunk damage onto Valentine and stop him from... If you can just put that hit scan poke into Valentine,
yeah, of course,
keep him back.
Yeah, I wonder if it's... Yeah, I mean, it's a good point. I mean, that's what I'm thinking. Like, what is the downside, I suppose, of McCree versus Hangzhou? But maybe it is just that prioritization of the immortality field. I mean, you get a lot of stuff you can combo it as well with the rest of your team. The Dragon Strike is a pretty good ult, but we've seen teams getting a lot of work done with the Deadeyes as well. So, yeah, it's interesting. I would be curious to know, honestly. I would really be curious to know.
We haven't seen many teams run the kind of composition that Boston has been favoring too, so it's possible that the McCree just can't get enough value because you're worried about getting punched by the Doomfist on the low ground all the time. Now we see it again though, Boston Uprising holding close with this rush composition. They're going to be running Punk on the Sigma, so similar to what we saw from the Justice, but they've got the May and the McCree this time around. Valentine's balls are going to be crucial in getting this done.
Yeah, and Mag's desperate to hold up his shield here. He's just getting battered around endlessly. And swinging through, once the main tank's down, Stand 1 just gets free reign to swing through them, already building up this Earth Shatter. A really good teamfight win here for Boston, not losing a single player.
The key for Justice is to try and find a pick and to also play as wide as possible. The more they can spread out, the more angles they can take against Boston, the less Boston are able to just pin them in a corner. So you can see them here really spreading out, utilizing that Sigma's extra shield to take multiple angles and have Decay shoot with Hangzhou, see if he can find a cheeky little pick.
A lot of damage being off-putted here to Bebe. The Immortality Field comes through. And it is the grab, or sorry, the Earth Shatter It's good coming out from stand 1. Connects onto a couple of targets, and it allows Myeonbong to just clean up in the back line, as there was no pressure being applied. Another good team fight win here for Boston, just shaving off the seconds.
They are doing a great job at holding forwards, but because Valentine is dead here, Justice have a massive advantage in the next fight. So if they can take it quickly, I'm 37 though, he uses his ultimate to try and slow them down. This is buying time for Valentine to get back in, and they catch Bebe as well.
Yep, they seem to be winning this team fight off the back of it, but still the damage is far too much to overcome. Gravitic Flux has to be committed for them to try and win this one out. Eventually, they're going to do it. Yeah, nice attempt from Boston. And again, they bought a lot of time, and they bought some ultimates as well. The Amp Matrix and the Gravitic Flux by Washington had to be used to try and break through that chokehold that they had at the spawn door.
Yeah, and now Decaying on his attacking Hangzhou has access to so many great sight lines for long distance play. He's going to be able to get access to tons of high grounds and just pepper them with shots. Here comes the Gravitic Flux and the Dragon to try and kite it away. Who is Punk going to manage to catch in this? The Immortality Field has already been used.
Yeah, Punk's just ready and waiting here. The sound barrier is used. Earth Shatter laid down. Actually connects us onto Valentine and Punk, I believe. And it separates the team enough so that they can take down stand 1. Punk out of position, but the sound barrier will connect and heal him back up. Blizzard's going to be unleashed as well. Valentine desperately trying to take down Mag, will get it done.
And the sound barrier advantage there for Closer, for Faith. He was able to use his so much later. The Immortality Field, for some reason, didn't quite catch why, was used early for Bebe, and then Closer forced to use his sound barrier to counteract Punk's Gravitic Flux, which just allowed Boston to regroup and push back in with a nice May wall coming out from Valentine and a lovely sound barrier from Faith. Boston holds strong again, 1 minute left. This is looking extremely winnable for them.
Amp Matrix is going to be used on the cart now, so it moves forward to the rest of the team. And they're just trying to split apart the tank line of the Boston Uprising. The Deadeye by M37 is going to cut across. It's going to force them to split up here. Playing around these angles. Doesn't get too much done with it. And the fight's taken a bit of a downturn here. Neither side wants to commit too hard. Icebox used. Valentine caught out of position. He might be in trouble indeed. The headshot from Decay just about catches onto him. And now the Dragon Strike to split up the Boston Uprising. And they're going to be able to capitalize. Swinging away. Mag looking for it. But stand 1 capitalizes as Mag moved forward. The Earth Shadow was massive. Fury trying to clutch this now. The Gravitic Flux is going to be used. And it's just about enough. 2 targets down. Not enough to clutch it, but Justice just about getting it done.
How many times, Brent, have we said Justice just managed to win? It feels like that is the story of this entire match. They are scraping through on the back of big individual plays like Decay's kill onto Valentine, and also clutch ultimates, like that huge Gravitic Flux coming out from Fury there. Boston Uprising though, 2 minutes. It's still holdable. They're going to contest this high ground, and Washington Justice are kind of hanging back a little bit, waiting for them to get forwards.
Blizzard into the Gravitic Flux. Lock up a couple of targets, including stand 1. He's caught out of position and brought down. What a huge opening pick now for Justice. It's going to crack open this high ground control. The sound barrier. Boston want to fight this one, and they're turning it. The kills are going their way. Valentine finding so much damage. With the help of his team, they're able to capitalize and push them off of it, despite losing stand 1 so early in that fight.
Really nice opportunistic play there from Boston too. Very, very decisive play. It's always dangerous to use a sound barrier like that because you don't have a tool to really defend against Fury's Gravitic Flux if it comes up sometime later, which he will have online in the next minute and a half. If Myeonbong uses his Immortality Field, they don't have that available. And 37 with a bit of a flash there, nearly caught Mag, and they're going to try and engage on the back of that Blizzard. Did he catch anyone? Bebe, yeah, Bebe. He falls.
Caught out of position. That is brutal. Lost one of your key players now in this comp. Deadeye from M37 doesn't quite get too much done, but Boston are in a grand position now to push this one. Justice trying to turn it. The sound barrier is going to be leading him in. The Gravitic Flux as well, caught onto so many targets, and that has set them up and brought them back down again for the old 1-2 combo. Fury just about getting it done. Again, 50 seconds remaining.
Yeah. And there's the ulta play too, Bren, right? That's the problem with Faith using his sound barrier in the previous fight, is that if Boston aren't able to save their Immortality Field for the perfect timing, Fury just gets that one off for free. And now we're getting up to another Blizzard as well, and this is where it starts to get scary for Boston, because the momentum is building for Washington Justice.
Ooh. They caught Mag out of position, but the Dragon Strike, it's cutting them across! And Mag, what a beautiful play with the Earth Shatter to try and close out this checkpoint B. That may have just saved the entire series for them. The card's gonna roll through, and Josh, look at that checkpoint. It does not have to go far.
No, less than 35 meters, and the Washington Justice, they can smell their victory. A reminder that if they win this series, they are through to the knockouts of the May Melee. And Boston Uprising, if they lose, they're out. This game is so important for both teams, and it's been just hanging on a knife's edge the entire time.
Up Matrix, the aggressive approach now by Washington. The card moving slowly to his objective. Boston trying to counteract it, maybe getting this kill. So close, Mag is just being chunked down tremendously. It is a brutal amount of damage, but Boston, they're salvaging it. They've just about found the edge they need, and now they can chase down Fury and the rest of these stragglers hunting for these kills. Still not able to get it, and now they've opened themselves up to an off angle by Decay. They're not out of it just yet, Josh.
Not quite. Look at Mag and Fury's ultimates. Fury with the ult and Faith still only at 85%. They're not going to have the sound barrier for this. They're going to need that immortality field.
Oh,
People are dropping so weak. Faith just gets it online though. Can they capitalize off the back of this sound barrier?
Comboing up the abilities, Mag with the Earth Shatter. It takes down stand one. It might just be enough. The players are so low on either side, but the Blizzard should seal it. And there you go, ladies and gentlemen, the Washington Justice sailing it in, and they're going to be taking the series in a 3-1 fashion. Heartbreaking for the Boston Uprising. You could tell how much they wanted it. So close, so back and forth at every single point. My goodness, they put up a good show.
You couldn't get two different reactions from the end of that match. Just the look of what if on every player from the Boston Uprising, and just relief from Washington. Not really elation, not like they've taken down some huge opposition, just relief that they were able to get done what is expected of them. And that was way closer than most people were expecting. The Boston Uprising had very good opportunities to actually just outright win this series. But Washington, they prevailed.
They absolutely did. I mean, you can see they're all up and about. They're presumably celebrating this win because it's a big one for them. You know, they're going to be 3-0 now over the course of the opening of the 2021 season. And Boston Uprising as well. Just to say a couple of. Oh, go on, Josh. You want to add something with Washington?
Well, I was going to say that just locks them in to the May Melee knockouts. Remember, so this was a big game for them. That 3-0, they are through now to Sunday.
Yeah, but I hope this match honestly serves as a bit of a moment, I think, in 2021 when the fans look back at this series and they see a team like Boston as well. And I think this is really the biggest example that we've really seen. Maybe the other one being Houston beating the Shock. But every team is dangerous this season. Every team can hand it to even the very best in each region that we've got currently in the 2021 season. You cannot underestimate any team coming into this. And Boston showcased that. Despite the fact that they didn't walk away with the win, they had so many winnable moments.
They absolutely did. And I think that a lot of them, especially early on in the series, came down to our player of the match as well, presented by Xfinity. It's Mag. I mean, the guy was actually just a beast. At the beginning of the series, particularly when he was able to play more of the like Winston and the ball setups as well, this guy was a freak at just getting Washington the maps that they were supposed to be able to win. This kind of play towards the beginning. Of course, the recency bias, you're going to be thinking about the Reinhardt performance, which, you know, he had a lot of trouble dealing with when it came to Valentine and M37 playing the Doom and the McCree. But Mag really got them into a winning position.
Absolutely, yeah. And I think as well, that recency bias of him playing the Reinhardt, he has such a hard job of it. He's going to find Earth Shatter value against the Sigma and a Rein. That's double shields, and he's being punched the entire time, or flashbanged, or frozen. It doesn't matter what comp they're playing. It's a difficult position to get value out of when you're playing that Reinhardt. It's like you've been transported back to 2018 Overwatch. You know, you're being crowd controlled all the time. But Mag gets it done, and that is why he is our player of the match here. You can see his stats, the numbers that he's putting up. The Earth Shatter kills per 10 minutes, a 3.8. Pretty absurd stuff.
Yeah, overall, though, a large amount of deaths. And I do think, as much as we are giving him credit here across the course of this series, there are still question marks, I think, about Mag's different heroes that he can bring to the table on top of his Winston. We know that his Winston is spectacular. We've seen it time and time again when he was playing in Contenders. He's had some just nutty clips popping off. And even that play that we just saw on Volskaya, you can tell that this guy has enormous talent. But it's how the entire team brings it together and plays it, especially in more like extreme team-centric death ball compositions like the Rush where he's playing the Reinhardt. How then does he fit in against the best in the league?
Absolutely, yeah. And we're going to be finding out as well as that match gets breaking down as we head to a break on the other side of things, of course, the Watchpoint post show. So don't go anywhere, ladies and gentlemen. Even more Overwatch breakdowns coming up after this one. We'll see you then.
Coca-Cola is the official refreshment of the Overwatch League.
Welcome to the Watchpoint Post Show presented by IBM, and we're now joined by Jerry from Washington Justice. 제리 선수 안녕하세요.
안녕하세요. 워싱턴 제리라고 합니다.
Hi everybody, my name is Jerry from Washington Justice. Alright, so what's your experience with Washington Justice after being with Boston Uprising last year? Are there any big differences between the two teams' approach for the match days, I guess? You could say. 첫 번째 질문은 작년 보스턴 팀과 현재 지금 속해 있으신 워싱턴 팀에 대해서 좀 다른 점이 있다면 좀 두 팀의 경기에 임하는 방식이나 뭐 이런 거에 좀 차이점이 있을까요?
전에 보스턴에서는 제가 개인적으로 되게 간절하게 이기고 싶어도 약간 한계가 보였던 적이 있었다고 생각을 하는데, 워싱턴 저스티스에서는 선수들과 다 같이 막 친하게 가족처럼 지내고 이제 서로 할 말도 다 하고 이렇게 해서 되게 많이 이길 수 있는 것 같아요. 코치님들도 되게 도움을 많이 주시는 것 같습니다.
Alright, so compared to last year when I was in Boston, I had a thirst for a win. Like, I've always wanted to win. I had this huge desire for winning, but sometimes, and most of the times, it didn't really work out. Compared to that, this year, Washington is a lot smoother. We talk a lot amongst the players, like we communicate a lot, and also we're able to get more wins because of not only the players and the communications, but also the coaching staff is amazing as well. So our whole general team is communicating very often and in a good way. Alright, my second question is, this series was a lot closer than everyone expected. Can you walk us through what happened today in your match against Boston Uprising? 오늘 보스턴전 경기가 좀 생각보다 많이 좀 접전이었던 것 같아요. 이번 경기가 왜 이렇게 좀 접전인지, 좀 왜 이렇게 좀 힘든 싸움이 됐는지 설명 좀 부탁드릴게요, 제리 선수.
저희가 솔직하게 말해서 보스턴전은 별로 이렇게 준비를 안 해가지고 저희는 그 다음 경기에 조금 더 몰두를 하고 있었거든요. 근데 보스턴이 예상외로 되게 힘들어서 저희도 약간 좀 당황을 많이 했었던 것 같아요.
To be really frank with you guys, we didn't really spend a lot of time preparing against Boston. We actually focused a lot on our next match that is going to happen next. We were very surprised on the level of play that Boston had in today's match and how they were prepared against us. So I think that's why we had sort of trouble in our match today against Boston Uprising. Alright, Jerry, that is it for the interview. Thank you so much. 제리 선수 오늘 너무나 수고하셨고요. 인터뷰해 주셔서 너무 감사합니다.
네, 감사합니다.
네, alright everybody, let's head back to the desk.
Thank you so much, Danny. Thank you so much, Jerry. And let's take a look at the standings, even though I'd rather just look at Jerry a little longer. Crushing a little bit, I'm not gonna lie.
So cute.
He's so cute.
My favorite part was...
Actually, the cutest smile we have in the league, hands down. Anyway, let's talk about the games, I guess. Let's talk about the standings, because we're just one day away from knockout round, where the top 6 teams in the NA region will play on Sunday. Now, Atlanta's victory keeps them alive, just barely so, and sets up a huge match versus the Shock on Saturday. So that's going to be an all or nothing scenario for them. Now, Washington clinches their spot in the knockout matches with a win over Boston, who now unfortunately is eliminated, despite ending it on a high note, I would say. Honestly, I think that they can be proud of the game they had today. Yes. Washington took it. But, Boston didn't just hand over their lunch money. They fought for it, and I loved seeing that. Right, Costa?
Yeah, I think this was a much closer match than a lot of us were expecting. Obviously, last weekend, Boston had a pretty horrific weekend, not really being competitive and not getting a map. They had an awful schedule. So if you're a Boston fan, you don't want to freak out too much, especially with these 3 losses they're going. This is the match you want to look at. Look at the Boston improvement, but also finding their identity. We got to see Valentine go into that Doomfist and really sort of throw a wrench in the Washington Justice game plan, and it worked so well. You can see when they are playing their style, when they were going forward. Even Havana, they had the edge so many times. Just the brilliance of the Washington Justice coming forward a little bit too much in this series. So I am excited to see more Boston. I want to see them play against teams that aren't like the top 3 in NA, so I can really start getting a feel for where they stand. But, good looks for the Boston Uprising today.
Hey, we're playing along on Spitfire tomorrow. Sorry, now you got a chance to put a win on the board. They're right there. I like what I saw from Boston too. So, I already predicted Boston against London. So they might get a win, Zoe. That'd be nice.
Exactly. Yeah, I got them in my pick'ems also reinforced. And I didn't just copy yours. fact.
No, I've
But no, honestly, I think Boston Uprising, like they can be proud of their performance. They went up against one of the favorites in the league, punching upwards, and they made it look very competitive. Don't be fooled by the score at all. Like those maps were close maps as well. And yeah, all right, Jerry did just admit to you, Danny, that they may or may not have spent an awful lot of time preparing. But I don't think, like, looking at what the Washington Justice brought to the table, they didn't play like super sloppy or something either. I think we do have to give credit here to the Boston Uprising for putting up a really good fight. Now, speaking of a good fight, let's talk about that first match of the day. Atlanta Reign finally gets that W on the board, and you know, I think maybe hold off on selling your Scrimbucks. You know, I'm just gonna be out there throwing some hope at all those Atlanta fans. They did sweep the Paris Eternal. Both teams coming into this as, you know, good rush teams, but Atlanta showed us some different looks as well, Reinforce.
Well, certainly some different looks. I mean, I was worried about my friends when I saw Pelican on Brig, because I wasn't ready for that. But then, oh, big shatter. Like, sorry, I just saw this shatter and it just interrupted my train of thought. It's like my feral instincts just like, big shatter, go. Oh my god, I completely lost my memory. I mean, yeah, that was one of the best shatters of the day from Dan, so huge credit there. About the Atlanta Reign though, yeah, they looked a lot better when they got to play this Rhino composition. Obviously great maps in the pool for them today, Hanamura and Eichenwalde, two maps that are really strong if you like to play Reinhardt. And that is what we expected from the Atlanta Reign. So great performance from them, but also going back, being able to play Busan with the Wrecking Ball and Pelican on Brig. Look, I'm gonna have to ask for some answers why that was the case, but still, they managed to win. Kai had a great game on that map as well, so now you're seeing some diversity from the Atlanta Reign, while also maintaining their performance on Reinhardt comp. So strong performance from the Atlanta Reign in this one.
Yeah, I mean, Danny did have a chat with Pelican right after the game, and what did he say? Like that he's played a lot of Brig in the past, or what was it?
Brig in the past, when during the GOATS meta, he played a lot, so the team sort of wanted to try that. Try him on Brig, and they had him on Brig on scrims and like practices, and it went well, and that's why he sort of stuck with Brig.
Still crazy to me. I'm sorry. I mean, you know, Valiant practiced a lot with Kuki on Lucio. Doesn't make it right.
Oh, come on, Joe. You're going to just throw that in my face right now. We're just going to throw that out there.
I'm just saying, you know, just because it's, you know, okay. I don't know what I'm saying.
It's a valid point you're making. You're making a valid point.
Took a straight punch out of nowhere, dude.
Kuki.
That wasn't just a punch.
Lucio,
like
wow.
he absolutely smacked you. Oh, wait, that would be less than.
I was defending you. I said it wasn't right. I'm sorry.
But you brought him back to memory lane, and maybe those are memories he doesn't want to think about.
Memories.
You know, maybe that's that.
I got my fair share too, so.
Costa, how did you feel about the looks we saw from the teams? Do you feel like they're starting to get a better hang of the meta and what is required to take a W?
Yeah, absolutely. I think we saw an absolute slugfest between Gator and Dan in this like entirety of the series. There were shatters going back and forth, but it was great team play as well. You can see that synergy, and you can just see how much Atlanta Reign really excel when they are able to play that brawl. I think they might honestly be one of the best teams that we have in the North American region at that style. But for me, I'm still not sold on the diversity. They still lost that one round in the opening Busan, and we haven't seen them play Winston. I need to see those locks before I,